Good evening. It's Wednesday, 2nd of April, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Diplomatic signals. Putin meets China's Wang eyes Xi's visit to Moscow. Israeli tensions. Israel confirms Beirut airstrike targeting Hezbollah positions. TikTok fame. Viral video propels unknown author to bestseller fame.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prashansa Gunawardana.
Good evening once again. Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed Chinese Foreign Minister Wang in Moscow, expressing optimism about President Xi Jinping's upcoming visit in May, reinforcing growing diplomatic cooperation as the two nations deepen ties amid shifting global alliances and geopolitical tensions.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has visited Moscow, meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov to discuss bilateral relations and international issues. During his three-day visit, Wang Yi stated on Tuesday local time that both nations are friends forever, never enemies, emphasizing the enduring friendship between China and Russia. President Putin underscored the high level of Russia-China relations, calling for the consistent enhancement of strategic cooperation. Wang also expressed China's readiness to play a constructive role in resolving the Ukraine conflict. It was also confirmed that Chinese President Xi Jinping would visit Moscow for the Victory Parade in May, commemorating the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany.
The White House confirmed President Trump will move forward with his sweeping new tariffs on today, signaling an aggressive trade stance that has sparked concern among economists, businesses, and global partners, fearing further strain on international commerce.
U.S. President Donald Trump's pending tariffs will go into effect immediately after they are announced, according to a White House spokesperson on Tuesday local time.
My understanding is that the tariff announcement will come tomorrow. They will be effective immediately. He's with his trade and tariff team right now, perfecting it to make sure this is a perfect deal for the American people and the American worker.
The tariffs are set to be announced by Trump at a Rose Garden ceremony at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on April 2nd. He has repeatedly touted April 2nd as Liberation Day, as he believes that his policies will free American industries from what he calls unfair trade practices. And according to U.S. media outlets, including the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is considering various tariff strategies. One is imposing a 20% flat tariff on all imports. Another is assigning each country a reciprocal tariff number that corresponds to tariffs and other trade barriers on U.S. products. And the U.S. Trade Representative is also considering a third option where levies, likely to be lower than the universal 20%, would be imposed on a wide range of imports from select countries.
Sources report mass layoffs have begun at key U.S. health agencies, including the CDC and FDA, as part of a broader restructuring initiative, raising alarms about the future of public health preparedness, research capacity, and critical healthcare services.
The Trump administration began mass layoffs of 10,000 staffers at U.S. health agencies. The cuts affect major U.S. health agencies, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, and the National Institutes of Health. While Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has described the cuts as essential to streamlining a bloated bureaucracy, the layoffs, including earlier dismissals, have led to the departures of top scientists at key agencies for public health, cancer research, and drug oversight, raising concerns about how the U.S. will safely oversee the health sector and respond to emergencies. According to one source, an FDA employee said staff had to present their badges at the building entrance, and those who had been fired were given a ticket and told to return home. The ticket, seen by Reuters, listed phone numbers for 10 different departments for employees to call to retrieve their essential equipment. The cuts are part of a broad plan by President Donald Trump and billionaire ally Elon Musk to shrink staffing levels in federal departments and agencies.
Ukraine announced plans to cooperate with the United States on a mutually acceptable minerals deal, signaling renewed diplomatic and economic collaboration despite recent policy shifts and rising global demand for critical resources used in defense and energy technologies.
Ukraine has announced it plans to work with the United States to develop a mutually acceptable minerals agreement, aiming to bolster economic ties and support Ukraine's reconstruction efforts. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha stated on Tuesday local time that Kyiv is working with the U.S. to refine a minerals deal that would see more American business involvement in Ukraine and contribute to the nation's security infrastructure. The latest U.S. proposal suggests that Ukraine allocate all profits from a fund controlling its resources to repay American wartime aid with interest. President Volodymyr Zelensky has expressed caution, emphasizing the need for a thorough review before proceeding. Meanwhile, Germany's foreign minister said during a visit to Kyiv on Tuesday that any minerals agreement between Ukraine and the U.S. must comply with European Union legislation.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the EU has a strong plan to respond to US tariffs if necessary, stressing readiness to defend European interests and rising trade tensions and an uncertain global economic environment.
The European Union has a strong plan to retaliate against tariffs imposed and set to be imposed by Donald Trump. That's according to EU Executive Chief Ursula von der Leyen on Tuesday, although she said the bloc would prefer to negotiate a solution. The Trump administration put in place tariffs on imported steel and aluminum in March, and higher duties on cars will take effect on Thursday. Trump will also set out plans for reciprocal tariffs on Wednesday. EU Executive Chief Ursula von der Leyen.
Europe did not start this confrontation. We think it is wrong. But my message to you today is that we have everything we need to protect our people and our prosperity. We have the largest single market in the world. We have the strength to negotiate. We have the power to push back.
Von der Leyen also said she understood the US wanted to reindustrialise, as does the EU. However, she said US tariffs were taxes on its consumers. She argued that would fuel inflation and make American factories pay more for components, costing jobs. Von der Leyen added that the EU should diversify its trade and remove internal barriers to cross-border business in its single market.
US prosecutors announced they will seek the death penalty of Luigi Mangione, charged with the killing of United Healthcare's CEO, in a case that has drawn national attention for its brutal nature and implications for corporate security nationwide.
U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione, the man accused of shooting and killing the CEO of United Health Group's insurance division, Brian Thompson, in New York last year. 26-year-old Mangione has pleaded not guilty to New York State charges of murder as an act of terrorism and weapons offenses. And because New York does not have the death penalty for state charges, he could face life in prison without parole if convicted. Mangione also faces a parallel federal indictment in Manhattan, but has not yet been asked to enter a plea. This is where Bondi said prosecutors will aim for the death penalty, a move one of Mangione's lawyers called, quote, barbaric. If Mangione is convicted in the federal case, the jury would determine in a separate phase of the trial whether to recommend the death penalty. Any such recommendation must be unanimous, and the judge would be required to impose it. Thompson was shot dead outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel on December 4th of last year. The brazen killing and ensuing 5-day manhunt of Mangione captivated Americans. Police officers in Altoona, Pennsylvania found him with a 9mm pistol and silencer, clothing that matched the apparel worn by Thompson's shooter in surveillance footage, and a notebook describing an intent to, quote, whack an insurance company CEO, according to a court filing.
Israel has confirmed targeting Hezbollah positions in an overnight airstrike on Beirut, raising fears of wider regional escalation as tensions simmer between Israel and Lebanon amid continued hostilities and ongoing negotiations for a broader Middle East ceasefire.
An echo of the height of the Israeli bombardments last year. Residents coming back to their homes to take stock of the damage after the middle of the night Israeli strike on this southern suburb of Beirut. The bomb killed at least 4 people, including the main target, a senior Hezbollah official. But ordinary residents feel they're in the crosshairs. People living in the area got no advance warning of the bombing. It was the second Israeli attack on South Beirut in less than a week, despite the ceasefire that Israel and Lebanon signed last November. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun condemned the attack, calling it a dangerous warning of Israel's intentions against Lebanon. He called on international allies to help support the country's sovereignty. Israel justified the strike, saying it targeted a Hezbollah operative, helping Hamas to plan an imminent attack on Israeli citizens. The Israeli foreign minister added that Lebanon must take action to uproot terrorist organizations acting within its borders against Israel.
Sources say the Democratic Republic of Congo and M23 rebels are set to hold their first direct talks on April 9th in a critical diplomatic effort to resolve long-standing conflict and restore peace in eastern Congo's volatile regions.
The Congo government and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels are planning to hold direct talks next week. Sources from both camps said on Tuesday. The April 9th talks in Doha are a potential boost for Qatar, as it tries to end the Central African country's worst fighting in decades. It would be the two sides' first direct negotiation since M23 fighters captured eastern Congo's 2 largest cities. Thousands have been killed in the rapid offensive and hundreds of thousands more forced from their homes. Both sides have agreed not to publicly discuss the substance of the talks, sources said. The presidents of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda held a surprise meeting in Doha last month. And Qatar hosted a second round of talks between the two countries on Friday and met separately with M23 representatives. Congolese officials and M23 have not yet met, sources said. Rwanda denies supporting M23 and says its military has been acting in self-defense against Congo's army and militias hostile to Kigali. The conflict, which has raged on Congo's eastern border with Rwanda and Uganda, is rooted in the fallout from Rwanda's 1994 genocide and regional competition for mineral riches.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Hollywood actor Val Kilmer, beloved for his roles in Top Gun and The Doors, has passed away at age 65 from complications due to pneumonia, prompting tributes from fans and colleagues, honoring his legacy on screen and beyond.
A homegrown Hollywood actor who was praised for his extraordinary range. Val Kilmer first started acting in high school but shot to fame years later in Top Gun, a military drama about Navy fighter pilots in training, playing a rival to Tom Cruise.
I don't like you because you're unsafe. That's right. I am dangerous.
His talent earned him the leading role in Oliver Stone's 1991 film The Doors, in which he gave a stylized performance of the charismatic Jim Morrison.
The god of rock.
I'm the poet and you're my muse.
That's just my game.
Other notable roles include gunfighter Doc Holliday in the bloody western Tombstone.
I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your huckleberry.
This ushered in Kilmer's highest profile years. In 1995, he co-starred with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in the crime drama Heat. Then, in Batman Forever, he took on the title role and played alongside Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey.
Freak!
The film was received tepidly by critics, though, and Kilmer pulled out of the next Batman movie. The actor went on to have numerous spats with directors and co-stars, earning him a reputation as temperamental, intense, and sometimes egotistical. In 2014, Kilmer was diagnosed with throat cancer. He underwent radiation and chemotherapy, as well as a tracheostomy that permanently gave him a raspy voice. After this, his films included a brief cameo in the 2022 sequel, Top Gun: Maverick.
The Navy needs Maverick. I spent decades finding my voice.
In Val, the 2021 documentary on his career, Kilmer said that he had no regrets, adding he had lost and found parts of himself he never knew existed.
An emotional TikTok video featuring a lonely book signing helped transform an author's quiet debut into a bestseller, highlighting the unexpected power of social media to drive sales and connect readers with overlooked literary talent.
It's a sad sight. The author was selling his self-help business book at a local bookstore, and sales were, to put it mildly, not brisk. Then a customer named Taylor noticed he was being ignored. She felt sorry for him, so she posted this video. This sweet man is sitting at Barnes & Noble with a stack of his books he wrote, and my heart is breaking every time someone passes him. Her 4-year-old daughter, Ella, walked up to the lonesome writer. The video of the bookstore encounter has been viewed an astonishing 100 million times and counting. Get this, his book, Purposeful Performance, The Secret Mix of Connecting, Leading, and Succeeding, is now a #1 bestseller on Amazon. The author says he wrote and self-published the book after he lost his job as a business consultant. Now, he says he is forever grateful.
Connie Palacios, a 100-year-old World War II icon known as Rosie the Riveter, proudly displayed a restored B-29 bomber she once helped build, reminding Americans of the crucial role women played in the nation's wartime industrial effort.
Connie Palacios is an elderly volunteer at the B-29 Dock Hangar Museum in Wichita, Kansas. You might say, big deal. There are lots of elderly museum volunteers. But there's more to her story. Connie is 100 years old. And how about this? She gets to show off the work she did as a defense riveter during World War II.
In order.
That's right, Connie is one of the original and few remaining Rosie the Riveters. During the war, she was one of the many women who stepped up and into jobs traditionally held by men. In Connie's case, she was literally a riveter, helping put together B-29 bombers and other vital pieces of defense and infrastructure for the war effort. She was just 17 years old. Her daughter is proud of her pioneering mom. Over 8 decades later, Connie is one of the last Rosies standing. Connie helped restore the B-29 that's on display in Wichita, keeping the "we can do it" spirit alive.
Japan's iconic cherry blossom season has officially begun, with parks and gardens blooming in soft pink hues as locals and tourists gather for Hanami festivities, celebrating the fleeting beauty and cultural significance of these ephemeral springtime blossoms.
Every year, it's a wonderful but fleeting sight. For a couple of days now, Tokyo's famous cherry trees have been in full bloom. Symbols of both life and death, the blossom's ephemeral beauty is a reminder of life's impermanence, and tourists come from far and wide to see it. For the Japanese, it's an opportunity to get together with family and have a picnic under the world-famous trees, which normally bloom for about 2 weeks a year.
I always look forward to the blossom. Till now, it was winter and too cold to be sitting outside, picnicking like this.
A promise of fresh starts with the arrival of spring, and as the country celebrates the beginning of a new school and business year. An age-old Japanese tradition that many will be back to celebrate this time next year.
Well, that's a wrap from all of us here at World News Tonight. I'm Prashansa Gunawardena, and we are leaving you with scenes of a crimson red diamond unveiled at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. Thank you for watching and have a great night.